Hey guys, let's take a look at lesson number 9.4, where we're looking at fractional parts of a set. In the textbook, I'm going to be looking at pages 226 and 227, and it says, how can you find a fractional part of a set? Well, in this example, they have a package of batteries, and so here's a picture of the batteries, but I'm going to represent that as circles. So I'm going to draw 8 circles for the batteries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 batteries in the set. So I'm going to put a square around it because that represents one set of batteries. And there's 8 inside there. Now, the thing is, though, if I was to say, all right, well, what's the fraction? Can we look at fractions here? We'd have our fraction bar. And from the previous lessons, you've learned that the denominator, which is at the bottom, represents the total amount of parts, or the people, or whatever it is you're counting. Now in here, there's 8. So you'd be thinking, all right, the denominator is 8, and maybe I give you a problem saying, okay, what's the fraction of 3? If I took 3 batteries out of the package, what fraction did I take out? Well, in that instance, you'd have 8 as your denominator, and what we're describing are the 3 batteries. So you put 3 as the numerator, and you'd say, all right, Mr. Hanslick, you took 3/8 of the batteries out of the package. And that's what we've been learning so far. But what we're going to move on now is taking parts of the set as fractions. And so now you've got something different. You're given, here's your set, and instead you're given a fraction like this, 1/4. Okay, this is weird because the denominator is a 4, and that does not match up to the 8 batteries. So now you have to think, something different is happening here. The denominator must be representing something a little different than the total amount of parts in the set. So what's happening is you have to take a look and say, wait a minute, I wonder if they're saying there's 4 parts or equal parts inside the set. So I needed to do some dividing here to figure out what the 1 stands for. Because now the 1 does not just stand for 1 battery. So let's take the 4 and let's divide this group up into 4 equal parts. So I'm going to try and say, okay, well, let's group these up into 2 batteries per set and see if I can get 4 equal groups or 4 equal parts. And sure enough, look at that. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. That matches up to our denominator now. But now we have to understand that we're talking groups or parts, and so if there's 4, we want to know what 1 group represents. 1 out of the 4. And when I look at my group, I've got 1, 2 batteries. So 1/4 of this set means that I have equals 2 batteries. And I've run out of room, so I'm just going to abbreviate. So now let's take a look at problem number 1. Problem number 1 gives you 12 eggs. All right, well, let's do the 12 eggs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Boy, what a mess I made, huh? But they want to find out, you want to find out what's 1/2 of 12. Okay. Once again, I see that fraction 1/2 of 12 eggs. Okay. There's that denominator, 2. I've got 12 eggs. So there's no way that this denominator represents the total amount of eggs. So I have to take a look and say, all right, now we're talking groups here. So let me take the whole 12 and let's divide that up into 2 groups. Some of you are already thinking, all right, wait a minute. That's 12 divided by 2 groups. That's going to give us the amount of eggs there are. So let's take a look. Let's divide them up. I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm going to do a couple of different. Let's do this. I'll leave the green here, and I need to go and move these things around. So I'm going to try to divide this up into 2 equal groups. Now, anytime I'm dividing things up in 2, that means I'm looking at what number, when I add the same number together, equals 12. Because I know that if I have the same number that I'm adding up, those are equal. And I know 6 plus 6 equals 12. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, let's circle that. There's 6. And let's make sure the other one equals 6 too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hey, look at that. It's the same. They're equal. Now, they don't look the same, but they have the same amount of eggs in them. 6 eggs here, 6 eggs here. So 12 divided by 2 equals 6. 1/2 of 12 eggs, I've split the amount of eggs in half. There's an equal amount on this side to this side. So 1/2 of the 12 eggs equals 6. Now let's take a look at number 2. It says find 1/4 of 8 apples. All right, well, I know there's 8 apples, so I better draw apples. I'm going to go with red. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hey, wait, this is sounding familiar. Didn't we do something like this with the batteries? All right, this time they're apples. You're an apple. All right, here we go. All right, so we're going to divide the 8 apples into 4 equal groups. So we're basically doing 8 divided by 4 equal groups. And that's going to get us this answer right there. Okay, so let's divide them up into 4 equal groups. Let's go 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 2 in each. So our answer is 2. So therefore, 1/4, or 1 out of 4 groups of the apples, 8 apples, there's 2. Okay, guys, let's take a look at number 3. And it says, in the example above, why do you put the batteries into 4 equal groups? Well, it's all about the denominator, guys. In this instance, in these batteries, you were asked to find 1/4. And the only reason why you put those 8 batteries into 4 groups is because we want to answer the denominator. The denominator tells us the total amount of groups. So in this instance, the denominator tells us the total amount of groups. Now there may be other times, like on our previous lessons, where those 8 batteries, the denominator would be 8. In that instance, we'd say the denominator tells us the total amount of items or people or whatever. But in this instance, being that that denominator did not match the total amount of batteries, it's telling us the total amount of groups of the batteries within the set. All right, now let's do number 4 together. So now we've changed this up, and now we're going to look at 12 batteries. What if you had 12 batteries? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 batteries now. So we have 12, and we want to find 1/4 of 12. What does that equal? So remember, we're looking at that denominator, and it says 4. So that does not match up to the 12 batteries. So we know the denominator now is not telling us the total amount of batteries. It's now telling us how many groups within the set do we need to make. We need to make 4 groups. So we want to basically do 12 divided by 4. That will give us 1/4 of 12. Okay? So here's our entire 12 batteries, and we want to make 4 groups. So I'm going to start dividing them up. 12 divided by 4. Well, if I remember from my multiplication, this, if I go backwards, I know that if I take this answer here, multiply it by 4, that will equal 12. And I remember from my multiplication flex that 4 times 3 equals 12. So therefore I know each amount of batteries, there's 3 batteries in each one of those 4 sets. So let's circle 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, look at that. 4 sets. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's 3 in each set. Boom. So 1/4 of 12, there's 3 batteries.